Bob, thank you so much for joining us. How's everything going in Knoxville this week?
It's great, Roger. Looking forward to this game on Saturday. It should be a good one.
Certainly should be, as once again, it's a great matchup between Tennessee and Alabama. We saw the Vols last year end Alabama's winning streak in Knoxville in a dramatic finish. Just take us back to that game from your perspective a year ago and what made that a special night for Tennessee fans.
Well, I think going into the game, the past 15 years before that, Tennessee fans were hopeful that maybe they could knock off Alabama. But last year, I think I think everybody who entered that stadium and the buildup all week, they thought they were going to beat Alabama, which was a much different mindset. So the whole week, the whole buildup, the game itself was just centered around the fact that Tennessee's going to beat Alabama. And, it was such a special game because both teams played well. Bryce Young was just absolutely unbelievable. And so was Hendon Hooker and Jalen Hyatt. And so it wasn't a matter that one team lost the game. It was the fact that Tennessee just beat Alabama, made the plays down the stretch. The great pass to Brew McCoy set up the game-winning field goal. And then Chase McGrath came in and knocked it through. So it was just a great win for Tennessee. And I think really restored a lot of the confidence, the tradition, and the pride in the program. So it was a huge win.
So now as we get ready for this 2023 version of the third Saturday in October, how are the Vols a little bit different than they were a year ago at this point?
Well, you don't have Hendon Hooker. That's a big loss. And I think everybody now is seeing how special a player Hendon Hooker was last year and how he could make plays. And you expected the big splash plays. Tennessee's not getting that this year. I mean, they won the game last week against Texas A&M, scoring 20 points, and it's the first time in Josh Heupel's career that he's won a game that he didn't score 30 points or more. So that last week was kind of a slug-it-out old SEC football game, defense, kicking game, and running the football. And so Tennessee, I think, grew up a little bit in that fact that they could win a game like that. They didn't have to have the spectacular big plays. And I expect the game coming up is going to be just like that. I think it's going to be a line of scrimmage game. Running the football is going to be really important, not making mistakes and trying to come up with a big play here and there. And I think the team that can do that will win the game. I don't think that you win this game by having 10 or 12 or 14 penalties and turning the ball over a couple of times. That's just not going to work. So both of these teams have had the problems with penalties. And so Tennessee had 12 last week. And still won the game. Well, I don't think you can do that against Alabama.
Tennessee's only given up 11 touchdowns, its fewest mark in the SEC. Just what makes this a really strong defense under the direction of defensive coordinator Tim Banks?
Well, Roger, a couple of things. They've got a lot of veteran players on defense, and they have a lot of depth in the defensive line. So they keep guys fresh. And they've had a couple of guys that have really emerged as SEC players. Tyler Barron's been around for a while, but has not played at this level during his career at Tennessee. He's flying all over the place, and they move him around. He'll be outside, but then they'll move him inside to rush. James Pierce, they always thought he was going to be a really dynamic player off the edge. Well, he's turned into that SEC Defensive Player of the Week with his pass rush last week against Texas A&M. And then they have Aaron Beasley at linebacker. He's another veteran guy that's leading the team in tackles and making a lot of plays. And they have veterans in the secondary. They're too deep with guys that have played a lot of football in the SEC. So they're veterans. They're deep. They play fast. They affect the quarterback, and they play usually in the other team's backfield. And one thing they've improved on this year, I think, too, Roger, that's really helped is that they're able to get to the quarterback with only their 4 guys down. They don't have to blitz a lot of guys, and that's really helped in the coverage, the pass coverage. So it's a much improved Tennessee defense. The numbers will point that out, and the fact that they've been very efficient, very aggressive, and they've made a lot of plays affecting the quarterback.
Going back to the offensive side of the football, Tennessee, we know we loves to pass it downfield, also run the football with a lot of consistency. Who are some of the playmakers on that side of the ball that are getting those key yards when Tennessee needs it?
Well, Josh Heupel will tell you he wants to run the ball. Everybody talks about his passing game, but he said he wants to run it. He wants to spread you out, see if you'll get guys out of the box, and then he runs it. And Jalen Wright has emerged as one of the top running backs, not only in the SEC, but I think in the country. He's got 4 100-yard rushing games this year. He's hard to break down. He attacks the line of scrimmage. He's very patient and is able to make yards. And then they have Jabari Small, who's a veteran guy, a senior. And then they've got the speed back and Dylan Sampson. So they have three different running backs. They rotate those guys. Each one brings something a little bit different. But last week, and I don't think anybody would believe this unless you bring it out to Tennessee leads the league in rushing. Nobody thought that was possible on a Josh Heupel team. They'd lead the league in rushing, and against a really good Texas A&M front seven that Alabama saw, Tennessee rushed for 231 yards against those guys. So the rushing game has been really good, and the one of the reasons it's even better is because Tennessee finally got its center back, Cooper Mays. He missed the first 4 games of the season with the surgical procedure, and now he's back, and that has really helped and solidified that offensive line, and they're even better than they were before Cooper was there. So that's been a big boost. And the offensive line's kind of been moving pieces all season. They've juggled guys around. They've had guys hurt and banged up, and they've had to move guys all over the place. But yet still the production hasn't dropped off very much. So that's a very good compliment to Tennessee's offensive line.
So as we look at Tennessee's season, obviously a huge matchup this weekend in Tuscaloosa against Alabama. We saw the loss earlier this year against Florida, but bounced back well after the wins. Just how critical is it for Tennessee to get a win to hope to accomplish what they hope to accomplish moving forward the rest of the year?
Well, winning games on the road in the SEC is how you win championships. And I think that's the next step for Tennessee. Tennessee did not play well at Florida, or the first half, I should say. They just didn't play very well and got whooped at the line of scrimmage. And perhaps that was a wake-up call for Tennessee in that game, because in the second half, they played a lot better, and they've really dominated the line of scrimmage since that game. So I think they grew up a lot in that Florida loss. Unfortunately, sometimes you learn some valuable lessons in a loss, and I think they did. And since then, they've been much more aggressive on defense, and they made a lot of plays. The offense, everybody knows that they've talked about Joe Milton. He's not Hendon Hooker. Nobody expected that to happen this year, but they did expect Tennessee to get a lot more splash plays than they've gotten. And they just haven't had those dynamic plays like Alabama saw Tennessee with Jalen Hyatt last year, just play after play after play. That hasn't happened. And Joe Milton has got all the qualities you want in a quarterback: big, strong guy, big, tall guy who can run a little bit, but he can throw the ball 70, 80 yards with no effort at all. But they just haven't been able to connect on a lot of those big plays. You don't have Jalen Hyatt. You don't have Cedric Tillman. Those are 2 big losses. Now you lost Brew McCoy. So they're hoping that somebody steps up and starts making those big plays that Tennessee, that's been lacking in this offense so far.
Should be entertaining. Alabama against Tennessee coming up on Saturday. Bob Kesling, just thank you so much for your time giving us a great scouting report on the Vols. We look forward to seeing you in the other booth coming up this weekend. But thank you again for your time.
All right, Roger. Always great for the third Saturday in October. Always great with Tennessee and Alabama. And we'll see you on Saturday.